Helena, the owner of the albergue, walked me to the door. She rang a bell which signified a pilgrim is leaving. My Camino familia had grown by one. My fellow pilgrim from California had left with me, but was way too quick for me to keep up. I walked along some iconic scenery. It matched my pre-Camino imagery. A pilgrim oasis food truck offered a plain old omelette. While I wasn't that hungry, I couldn't pass it up. An omelette is a rare thing on the Camino, and it was delicious. I walked into Los Arcos. This small town looked slightly different than the previous villages. There were gates, and windows were being boarded up. It wasn't until I came across a group of school children that I realised Los Arcos was having its own running of the bulls, and I unfortunately had arrived too early in the day to see the festivities. My feet were very painful today. The blisters had grown on the outside of each little toe, and I was beginning to feel back pain from my pack. I arrived at my albergue and was too exhausted to do any sightseeing. The albergue had a Knights Templar theme, which was quite unique. It also had a plunge pool, and while it was very cold, it did provide some relief to my feet. I had a very basic pilgrim dinner with a guy from Hong Kong who was living in Scotland and a nice Frenchman. Dinner was a bit of a rip-off, €15 for pasta, lettuce, tomato and a small cake. Today I walked 33,084 steps, climbed 17 flights and travelled 23 kilometres. I stayed in the Hostel Rua La Pata de Orca and it cost me €14 or 25 Australian dollars. I would rate it 3 out of 5 stars. There was great staff, but a poor dinner. If I had my time again, I would have planned a little bit better. Before I left, I would have done a search of all the towns and looked for any major festivals that were happening. I do regret not being able to stay to see that small running of the bulls.